3 days passed on planet Kalos. The fires in the sky slowly faded as the wreckage of the Drokar fleet drifted away into the void. The planet returned to its peaceful silence, broken only by the sounds of repair work and quiet conversations. The human soldiers stayed. They helped the Velari crew repair their damaged outpost. They removed the bodies of the fallen Drokar soldiers and gave them proper burials. They worked without complaint, without rest, moving from task to task like machines that never grew tired. Commander Yuna spent most of her time watching them. She could not understand these creatures. In battle, they had been monsters, killing without mercy or hesitation. But now, in peace, they were something else entirely. She saw them laughing together, sharing meals, telling stories about their homes far away. She saw Sergeant Hana helping young Minji fix a broken communication device, patiently explaining how the technology worked. She saw the soldier named Wujin teaching Do-Yun a human game with cards and small colored chips. They were gentle. They were kind. And yet just 3 days ago, they had destroyed an entire fleet without breaking a sweat. On the 4th day, Captain Taiho came down from his ship. He walked through the outpost, inspecting the repairs, nodding to his soldiers, checking on the Velari crew. When he was finished, he found Yuna standing on a small hill outside the outpost, looking up at the sky. "Commander," he said, stopping beside her. "How are you feeling?" Yuna took a moment before answering. "I am alive. My crew is alive. Our research is safe. I should feel grateful. But you do not?" She turned to look at him. His face was calm, as always, patient, waiting. "Captain Taiho, may I ask you something?" "Of course. Why do they fear you?" "The entire galaxy, every species from one end to the other, they all fear humans. They tell stories about you to frighten their children. They avoid your territory like it is cursed." "Why?" Taiho was quiet for a long time. He looked up at the sky, at the 3 suns slowly moving across the horizon. When he finally spoke, his voice was soft. "Do you know the history of our species, Commander?" "Only the stories. The legends." Taiho nodded. "Let me tell you the truth, then. Humans come from a small planet called Earth. It is a beautiful world, but it is also a hard one. We evolved there, fighting against nature, against predators, against each other. For most of our history, we were at war. Nation against nation, brother against brother. We killed each other for land, for resources, for ideas, for gods. We never stopped." He paused, his eyes distant, as if seeing something far away. "When we finally reached the stars, we met other species. And do you know what surprised us most? You were all so peaceful. You had disagreements, yes. Small conflicts. But nothing like what we had done to each other. Nothing like the wars we fought, the weapons we built, the horrors we created. We thought you were all weak at first," he continued. "Then we realized the truth. You were not weak. You were normal. We were the ones who were different. We were the ones who had spent millions of years learning how to fight, how to survive, how to destroy anything that threatened us. We were the monsters." Yuna felt a chill run through her. "But you seem so normal now. You helped us. You were kind to my crew." Taiho smiled sadly. "We learned to control ourselves. We built laws and systems to keep our violent nature in check. In our normal lives, we are teachers and doctors and artists. We love our families. We laugh at jokes. We cry at sad stories. We are not so different from you. But when we fight," his smile faded. "When we fight, we become what we always were, what we evolved to be. We do not just want to win. We want to destroy. Completely. Absolutely. We cannot help it. It is in our blood, in our bones, in every cell of our bodies. The beast never really goes away. It just sleeps. Yuna thought about what she had seen. The way the human soldiers had moved in battle. So precise, so deadly. The joy in their eyes as they fought. The complete lack of fear. The galaxy fears you because you are predators, she said slowly. True predators. Everything else is just pretending. Taiho nodded. We made a choice long ago to stay separate from galactic society, to keep our nature hidden. We stay on our side of the galaxy, live our quiet lives, and try to be good. But we also made a promise. If any peaceful species faces extinction, if there is no other hope, they can call us. And we will come, because fighting is what you are meant for. Yes, there was no shame in his voice. No pride either. Just acceptance. We are what we are. We cannot change our nature, but we can choose how to use it. We can be the monsters that protect, instead of the monsters that destroy. Silence fell between them. The wind blew gently across the hill, carrying the smell of strange flowers from the plains below. What happens now? Yuna asked. The Drokar fleet is destroyed. Their warlord is disgraced. Will they come back for revenge? Taiho shook his head. No. Grom will return to his people and tell them what happened here. He will tell them about the human ship that destroyed 2,000 vessels in less than an hour. He will tell them about the soldiers who could not be stopped, could not be hurt, could not be frightened. The Drokar will never threaten the Volari again. They will be too afraid. And if someone else attacks us, then you call us again. Taiho turned to face her fully. His dark eyes were gentle but serious. That is the promise we made. As long as the beacon exists, as long as there are humans to answer it, you will never face extinction alone. Yuna felt tears forming in her eyes. She did not try to stop them. Thank you, she whispered. For everything? Taiho reached out and placed a hand on her shoulder. His touch was warm, human. Thank you for having the courage to call us. Many would have been too afraid. You saved your crew, Commander. You should be proud. They stood together on the hill for a while longer, watching the sun set over planet Kalos. It was beautiful, Yuna thought. This strange world, with its ancient ruins, and its 3 suns, and its new protectors. The next morning, the humans prepared to leave. Their work was done. The outpost was repaired. The Drokar were gone. It was time to return to their own space, to their quiet lives on the other side of the galaxy. The Volari crew gathered to say goodbye. There were hugs and handshakes and promises to never forget. Sergeant Hana gave Minji a small metal pin shaped like the Eternal Fury. For being brave, she said with a wink. Woojin taught Dohyun one more card game and made him promise to practice. Captain Taiho was the last to board the shuttle. He paused at the door and looked back at Yuna. Commander, I hope we never meet again. Yuna blinked. What? Taiho smiled. If we meet again, it means you are in danger. It means the galaxy has failed to protect you. I would rather you live a long, boring, peaceful life and never need to call us again. Understanding dawned on Yuna. She smiled back. Then I hope I never see you again, Captain. Goodbye, Commander. Take care of your crew. The shuttle lifted off. It rose through the sky, growing smaller and smaller until it was just a point of light among the stars. Then it disappeared, jumping away to some distant corner of the galaxy. Yuna watched until there was nothing left to see. Around her, her crew stood in silence, looking up at the empty sky. Will we ever tell anyone what happened here? Jisoo asked quietly. About what the humans are really like? Yuna thought about it for a moment. The kindness she had seen, the violence, the strange contradiction that was the human species. We will tell them the truth, she said finally, that the humans are exactly what the legends say. They are beasts. They are monsters. They are the most dangerous things in the universe. She paused and smiled. And they are our friends. Far away, on the bridge of the Eternal Fury, Captain Taiho sat in his chair and watched the stars fly by. His crew was resting, playing games, reading books. The beast had gone back to sleep, but it would wake again. It always did. Somewhere out there, someone would threaten the innocent. Someone would attack the helpless. Someone would make the mistake of thinking they could win against peace-loving species who had no one to defend them. And when that happened, the beacon would flash. The signal would fly across the galaxy. And the humans would come, because that was the promise. That was the duty. That was what it meant to be human. The beasts were always watching. The beasts were always ready, and the galaxy would never forget why they were feared. The battle in space lasted only 40 minutes. It should have lasted days. 2,000 ships against one should have been a siege, a long and bloody war of survival. Instead, it was a slaughter. The Eternal Fury moved through the Drokar fleet like a knife through water. Its shields absorbed everything the enemy threw at it. Its weapons never missed. Every shot destroyed something. Every movement was calculated, perfect, deadly. Captain Taiho sat in his chair and gave quiet orders. He did not shout or panic. He spoke like a man doing ordinary work, like a farmer harvesting grain or a teacher grading papers. For him, this was normal. This was what humans did. Target the fuel ships next, he said calmly. Cut off their ability to retreat. I want them trapped here. His tactical officer, Jinho, nodded. Yes, sir. Targeting fuel ships now. More explosions. More death. The Drokar fleet was falling apart. On his command ship, Warlord Grom watched his empire crumble. His hands were shaking. His crew was screaming. Half of his fleet was gone, and the human ship had not even slowed down. Fall back. He finally shouted. All ships, retreat. Get us out of here. But it was too late. The fuel ships were destroyed. The Drokar vessels could not jump to hyperspace. They were trapped, like fish in a net, waiting to be caught. Vesh grabbed Grom's arm. We have to escape, my lord. The shuttle bay, a massive explosion rocked the ship. The lights went out, then came back on in emergency red. Warning alarms screamed from every corner. Direct hit to the engine room, someone reported. We have lost main power. Shields are failing. Grom fell to his knees. He had conquered 100 worlds. He had killed millions. He had thought himself invincible. Now he was going to die, destroyed by a single ship from a species he had dismissed as weak. The screen flickered on. Captain Taiho's face appeared again. He looked exactly the same as before. Calm, patient, almost kind. Warlord Grom, he said, your fleet is destroyed. Your ship is disabled. You have lost. Now, I am going to tell you what happens next. Grom could not speak. He just stared at the screen with empty eyes. My soldiers are going to board every remaining Drokar vessel. They are going to secure your crews and take your weapons. Then, we are going to land on the planet below and make sure the Valari outpost is safe. You are going to watch all of this happen. And then you are going to go home and tell your people what you saw today. Grom found his voice. It was weak, broken. You are going to let us live? Taiho tilted his head slightly. That depends on how the next few hours go. If your soldiers surrender peacefully, yes, you will live. If they fight, he did not finish the sentence. He did not need to. But know this, Warlord. If any Drokar ever threatens the Valari again, if any Drokar ever activates another war against peaceful species, we will not come with one ship next time. We will come with 1,000. And there will be no survivors. The screen went dark. Grom collapsed. Around him his crew was silent. the great warlord, the conqueror of worlds, sat on the floor of his ruined bridge and wept down on the planet. Sergeant Hana led the ground assault. 50 human soldiers dropped from the Eternal Fury in small, fast attack ships. They landed in a circle around the Valari outpost, their boots hitting the ground at the exact same moment. Some Drokar ground troops had landed before the space battle ended. They had been preparing to attack the outpost. Now they faced something much worse than the scientists they had expected to find. Hana stepped out of her ship and looked around. The Drokar soldiers were hiding behind rocks and fallen trees, pointing their weapons at her team. They looked scared. They should be. "Attention, Drokar forces," Hana called out. Her voice was loud and clear. "Your fleet is destroyed. Your warlord has surrendered. Drop your weapons, and you will not be harmed." For a moment, nothing happened. Then one of the Drokar soldiers, probably a young one, fired his weapon at Hana. The shot hit her armor and bounced off harmlessly. Human battle armor was built to survive much worse than Drokar energy weapons. Hana did not even flinch. She looked at the soldier who had fired. He was trembling, his weapon shaking in his hands. "That was a mistake," Hana said. But she was smiling. She was always smiling. The humans attacked. It was over in minutes. The Drokar ground forces were not cowards. They fought back with everything they had. But they were fighting humans. They were fighting soldiers who had trained for war since they were children, who had studied every way to kill and destroy, who felt no fear and showed no mercy. Hana moved through the battlefield like a dancer. Her weapon fired in perfect rhythm. Every shot hit its target. She ducked and rolled and jumped, always moving, always attacking. The Drokar could not track her. They could not hit her. They could only die around her. The other human soldiers fought with the same deadly skill. A tall man named Byung-ho took out an entire squad with a single grenade. A woman named Yoonji disabled a Drokar vehicle with her bare hands, ripping apart its engine like it was made of paper. A young soldier named Woojin was humming a song to himself as he fought, smiling like he was having the best day of his life. The Valari crew watched from the outpost windows. They had never seen anything like this. The humans fought like they were born for it. Like violence was their natural state. Like war was their art. "They are monsters," Ji-hoon whispered. His face was pale. "They are our monsters," Yuna replied quietly. "Today, at least." When the last Drokar soldier fell, Hana looked around the battlefield. Her armor was scratched but undamaged. She was not even breathing hard. She touched her communication device. "Captain, the ground is secure. No human casualties. Proceeding to the outpost now." "Good work, Sergeant," Taiho's voice replied. "Make contact with the Valari commander. Tell him they are safe." Hana walked toward the outpost. Her soldiers followed behind her, still alert, still ready for more fighting. They looked disappointed that there were no more enemies to kill. The outpost door opened. Commander Yuna stepped out, followed by her crew. She looked at the human soldiers, at their dark armor and their deadly weapons and their strange, fearless eyes. Hana stopped in front of her and saluted. "Commander Yuna?" "Sergeant Hana, Human Defense Force. Your emergency beacon was received. We came as fast as we could." Yuna did not know what to say. She had just watched these beings destroy 2,000 ships and defeat an army. She had just witnessed the power that made the entire galaxy tremble with fear. "Thank you," she finally managed. "You saved us." Hana's smile softened a little. For just a moment, she looked almost gentle. "That is what we do, Commander. You called for help. We answered. That is the deal." Behind them, the sky was still filled with the burning remains of the Drokar fleet. The three suns of Kylos shone through the smoke, painting everything in strange colors. It looked like the end of the world. but also like the beginning of something new. Yuna looked at the human soldiers, these beasts that the galaxy feared. They had come from across the stars to save 12 scientists on a forgotten outpost. They had fought without hesitation. They had won without doubt. They were terrifying. They were wonderful. They were human. And right now, they were on her side. The signal moved through space like a wave of fire. It passed through nebulas and around black holes. It touched every corner of the known galaxy in just a few moments. And everywhere it went, alarms began to scream. On the Valari homeworld, Elder Sunho was having his evening meal when his communication device made a sound he had never heard before. It was loud and sharp, like a cry of pain. He dropped his food and ran to his office. The screen on his wall was flashing red. Words appeared in the ancient language of their ancestors. Words that had not been seen in over 300 years. Human. Emergency beacon activated. Location. Planet Kalos. Valari Outpost 7. Sunho felt his heart stop. Both of them. He read the message again, hoping he was wrong. He was not wrong. No, he whispered. What have they done? He immediately called for an emergency meeting of the High Council. Within minutes, the 12 most powerful leaders of the Valari species appeared on his screen. Their faces showed the same fear that Sunho felt. Someone has activated the beacon, said Elder Bora, the oldest member of the council. Her voice was shaking. On Kalos, our research outpost. The Drokar attacked them, another council member reported. We received a partial message before communications were blocked. A massive fleet. They wanted the ancient technology. So Commander Yuna called the humans, Sunho said heavily. She had no other choice. The council fell silent. They all knew what this meant. The humans were coming. And when humans came, death followed. We must warn the Drokar, said Elder Bora. Tell them to retreat. Tell them to leave Kalos immediately. Perhaps if they run fast enough. It is too late, Sunho interrupted. The beacon has been activated. The humans are already on their way. Nothing can stop what is coming now. Far across the galaxy, other species were having the same conversations. The Morati, tall beings made of living crystal, gathered in their great halls and spoke in worried whispers. The Fenrics, small creatures covered in golden fur, hid in their underground cities and prayed to their gods. Even the mighty Calvari, whose warships had conquered 100 worlds, looked at the night sky with fear. Everyone knew the stories. Everyone remembered the last time the beacon was used, that it was 300 years ago. A species called the Rothani had tried to destroy the Valari. They were cruel beings who enjoyed causing pain. They attacked Valari colonies without warning. They killed millions. They laughed while children screamed. The Valari had activated the beacon then, too. What happened next became a legend. A warning. A nightmare that parents told their children to make them behave. The humans came in one ship. Just one. It was not a beautiful ship. It was not elegant or graceful like Valari vessels. It was ugly. It was covered in weapons. It looked like it was built for only one purpose, to kill. The Rothani had laughed when they saw it. One ship against their fleet of 500? They fired everything they had at the human vessel. The ship survived. It flew through the explosions like they were nothing. And then it fired back. In 2 hours, every Rothani ship was destroyed. In 2 days, the human soldiers had landed on every Rothani world. In 2 weeks, the Rothani species was gone. Completely. Not just defeated. Not just conquered. Gone. Their cities were burned. Their history was erased. Their name became a word for foolishness and death. The galaxy never forgot. Now, in a dark corner of space, Warlord Grom stood on the bridge of his command ship. He was watching the Valari outpost on his screen. counting down the minutes until he could begin his attack. He was imagining all the power he would have when he controlled the ancient technology. His second officer, a young Drokar named Vesh, approached him carefully. "Warlord," Vesh said, "our sensors have detected something strange." Grom did not look away from the screen. "What is it?" "A signal, my lord. It came from the Valari outpost. It traveled across the entire galaxy in just seconds. We have never seen anything like it." Grom finally turned. His red eyes narrowed. "What kind of signal?" Vesh swallowed hard. "Our computers are having trouble understanding it, but there is one word that keeps appearing in the translation." "What word?" "Human." Grom stood very still. The word hung in the air like poison. Around him, his officers had stopped working. They were all listening. They were all afraid. "That is impossible," Grom said slowly. "The humans stay in their territory. They do not interfere with galactic matters anymore." "The signal matches records from 300 years ago," Vesh said quietly. "It is the emergency beacon. The humans are coming." For the first time in his long life, Grom felt something cold in his chest. It might have been fear. He had conquered dozens of worlds. He had killed millions. He had never been afraid of anything. But the humans, he remembered the stories his grandfather told him. His grandfather had lived during the HFY War. He had been a young soldier then, serving on a ship that was patrolling near HFY space. He had watched from a safe distance as the humans destroyed everything. They did not fight like soldiers, his grandfather had said, his old eyes full of horror. They fought like animals, like beasts. They enjoyed it. They smiled while they killed. And when it was over, when every HFY was dead, the humans just went home. Like it was nothing. Like destroying an entire species was just a normal day for them. Grom pushed the memory away. He was a warlord. He had the largest fleet in this sector. He would not run from ghost sim legends. How long until the humans arrive? He demanded. Vesh checked his instruments. "We cannot be certain, my lord. Human ships are different. They travel in ways we do not understand. It could be hours. It could be minutes. Then we attack now," Grom declared. "We destroy the outpost, take the technology, and leave before the humans arrive. Move the fleet into attack formation." His officers hesitated. They looked at each other with worried eyes. "Move!" Grom shouted. "The humans are just one species. They bleed like anyone else. They die like anyone else. I will not let stories and legends defeat me." The officers began to work, but their movements were slow and uncertain. Fear was spreading through the fleet like a disease. On the Valari outpost, Ina watched the enemy ships begin to move. They were getting into attack formation. They were going to strike. 30 minutes until they are in weapons range, Jihoon reported. His voice was calm, but his hands were shaking. Yuna nodded. 30 minutes. The humans might not arrive in time. They might all die before help came, but at least they had tried. At least they had not surrendered. Jisoo suddenly sat up straight at her station. "Commander, I am detecting something. A ship." "No, that cannot be right. What is it?" Yuna asked. Jisoo's eyes were wide with shock. "The readings make no sense. There is a ship approaching at impossible speed. It will be here in 5 minutes." 5 minutes? Jihoon stepped closer to look at the readings. His face went pale. "That is not possible. Nothing travels that fast." But something did. Something was coming. Something that did not follow the normal rules of space and time. Something that had heard the call and was answering. Yuna looked at the approaching signal on her screen. It was moving like a bullet, like a predator racing toward its prey. "They are here," she whispered. The humans are here. Outside, the sky began to change. A point of light appeared among the Drokar ships. It grew brighter and brighter until it was painful to look at. Space itself seemed to twist and bend around it, and then, with a sound like thunder that somehow echoed through the void, a ship emerged. The beasts had arrived. The ship was ugly. That was the first thing everyone noticed. It had no smooth curves or elegant lines. It was built from dark metal, covered in scars and burn marks from 1,000 battles. Strange symbols were painted on its hull, words in the human language that no one could read. It was also huge, bigger than any single vessel in the Drokar fleet. It hung in space like a sleeping monster, blocking out the stars behind it. For a long moment, nothing happened. The Drokar ships had frozen in place. 2,000 warships, armed with enough weapons to destroy a planet, sat still and silent. They were waiting. They were afraid. On the bridge of his command ship, Warlord Grom stared at the human vessel. His claws were digging into the arms of his chair. He had never seen anything like it. What is that ship called? He asked quietly. Vesh looked at his screens. His voice was barely a whisper. Our records identify it as the Eternal Fury, my lord. It is a legend. Stories say it has been fighting wars since before our species learned to fly. Grom said nothing. He just stared. On the Valari outpost, Yuna and her crew watched with wide eyes. Minji was crying again, but this time her tears might have been from relief. Ji-hoon kept checking his instruments as if he could not believe what he was seeing. They actually came, Sujin said softly. Her old face showed wonder. I never thought I would see this day. A human ship. The communication system suddenly crackled to life. A voice came through the speakers. It was deep and calm, speaking in perfect galactic standard. This is Captain Taiho of the Human Defense Force, commanding the Eternal Fury. We have received your emergency beacon and have come to provide assistance. Valari Outpost, please confirm your status. Yuna rushed to the communication panel. Her hands were shaking as she pressed the button. Captain Taiho, this is Commander Yuna. We are alive. The Drokar fleet was about to attack us. They want the ancient technology in the ruins. There was a brief pause. When the captain spoke again, his voice was even calmer. Understood, Commander. Please remain in your outpost. Do not worry. We will handle the Drokar. Handle them. Such simple words. Such a terrifying promise. On Grom's command ship, the human captain's voice had also been heard. Grom's officers were whispering to each other. Some of them were already looking toward the escape pods. Warlord, Vesh said carefully. Perhaps we should consider silence. Grom stood up from his chair. His pride was stronger than his fear. He was a conqueror. He was a Drokar. He would not run from one ship, no matter how frightening the legends were. Open communications with the human vessel, he ordered. The screen flickered. A face appeared. It was the first time Grom had ever seen a real human. The captain looked ordinary. He had dark hair and dark eyes. His skin was a light brown color. He was wearing a simple uniform with no decorations. There was nothing about him that seemed dangerous, but his eyes. There was something in his eyes that made Grom's blood feel cold. A stillness. A patience. The look of a hunter who has all the time in the world. Warlord Grom, Captain Taiho said. He almost seemed friendly. I must ask you to withdraw your fleet from this system. The Valari outpost is now under human protection. Grom forced himself to stand tall. Human, you are one ship. I have 2,000. Do you really think you can stop me? Taiho smiled. It was a small smile, gentle almost, but somehow that made it worse. I am going to give you some information, Warlord. please listen carefully. 300 years ago, a species called the Rothani made the same mistake you are about to make. They saw one human ship and thought they could win. Do you know what happened to the Rothani? Grom said nothing. Everyone knew what happened to the Rothani. I am not here to negotiate, Taiho continued. I am not here to threaten you. I am here to give you one chance. Leave now. Take your fleet and go home. Tell your people that you met the humans and lived. That will be your victory. And if I refuse? The smile disappeared from Taiho's face. What remained was something ancient and terrible. Then your species will learn why the galaxy fears us. The communication ended. The screen went dark. Grom stood in silence. His officers were staring at him, waiting for his decision. He could feel their fear. He could feel his own fear, too, deep in his chest. But deeper still was his pride, his anger, his refusal to be humiliated. All ships, he said slowly, attack the human vessel. Destroy it. Vesh's face went white. My lord, please. I gave an order. Grom roared. Attack. The Drokar fleet surged forward. 2,000 ships fired their weapons at once. The space around the Eternal Fury exploded with light and fire. It was beautiful in a terrible way, like a deadly flower blooming in the void. On the Velari outpost, Yuna watched with horror. They are going to destroy them, she breathed. There is no way any ship can survive that. But when the explosions cleared, the Eternal Fury was still there. It had not moved. It had not fired back. It had simply survived. Its shields glowed with absorbed energy, but the ship itself was undamaged dot on the human ship's bridge. Captain Taiho sat in his chair. Around him, 50 human soldiers stood ready. They were not afraid. They were not nervous. They looked almost excited. A woman with short black hair stepped forward. Her uniform showed she was a sergeant. Her name tag read Hala. She was smiling, and her smile was the most terrifying thing in the galaxy. Captain, she said, permission to begin ground assault preparation? Taiho nodded slowly. Prepare the dropships. When we break their fleet, we will secure the planet. He looked at his tactical officer. Jinho status report. A young man at the weapons console looked up. All systems ready, sir. The Drokar weapons did not even scratch our secondary shields. They are using technology that is at least 200 years behind ours. As expected, Taiho said. He stood up from his chair. All crew, listen carefully. The Drokar have made their choice. They attacked first. Now we show them why that was a mistake. He pressed a button on his chair. His voice echoed through every speaker on the ship. This is your captain speaking. Today, we answer a call for help. Today, we protect those who cannot protect themselves. Today, we remind the galaxy who we are. Humans do not hide. Humans do not run. Humans fight. And humans win. The crew cheered. It was a sound like thunder, like an earthquake, like the roar of a great beast waking from sleep. Weapons officer, Taiho said calmly. You may fire at will. The Eternal Fury began to move. And as it moved, it began to shoot. The first Drokar ship exploded before anyone understood what had happened. Then the second. Then the third. The human weapons were faster, stronger, and more accurate than anything the Drokar had ever seen. Grom watched in disbelief as his fleet began to burn. Ships that had taken years to build were destroyed in seconds. Thousands of his warriors died with every passing moment. Return fire! He screamed. All ships, concentrate fire on. Another explosion. Another ship gone. The humans were not just fighting. They were hunting. They were choosing their targets carefully, destroying command ships and weapon platforms first. They were taking apart the Drokar fleet piece by piece, On the Valari outpost, Yuna stood at the window and watched the sky burn. She had called for help. She had summoned the beasts at Dot, and now the beasts were feeding. The sky turned black. Not from clouds or storms, but from ships. Thousands of them. They blocked the 3 suns of planet Kalos and cast a shadow over the small Valari outpost below. Commander Yuna stood at the observation window of her station. Her blue skin had turned pale. Her 4 eyes blinked slowly as she counted the enemy vessels. She stopped counting at 2,000. There were many more. "Commander," said Jisoo, her communications officer. Her voice was shaking. "They are hailing us." Yuna turned around. Her crew of 12 looked at her with fear in their eyes. They were scientists and engineers, not soldiers. This outpost was built to study the ancient ruins on Kalos, not to fight wars. "Put them through," Yuna said. The main screen flickered. A face appeared. It was a Drokar, one of the most violent species in the galaxy. His gray skin was covered in scars. His teeth were sharp like knives. His red eyes showed no mercy. "Valari," the Drokar commander spoke. "I am Warlord Grom. You have 1 hour to surrender this planet. Give us the ancient technology hidden in those ruins. If you refuse, we will kill every living thing on this world." The screen went dark. Silence filled the room. Minji, the youngest crew member, started to cry softly. Dohyun, the chief engineer, sat down heavily in his chair. His hands were trembling. "We cannot fight them," said Jihoon, the security officer. He was the only one with military training, but even he looked defeated. "We have 12 people and 2 small defense cannons. They have an invasion fleet." Yuna knew he was right. The Valari were a peaceful species. They explored the stars to learn, not to conquer. Their ships were fast but weak. Their weapons were basic. They had survived for thousands of years by staying away from conflict. But the Drokar had found something they wanted. The ancient ruins on Kalos held secrets from a civilization that died millions of years ago. The Valari had been studying these ruins for decades. They had found strange machines and powerful energy sources. And now the Drokar wanted it all. "Contact the High Council," Yuna ordered. "Tell them what is happening." Jisoo worked quickly at her station. After a few minutes, she shook her head. "The Drokar are blocking our long-range communications. We cannot reach anyone." Yuna closed her eyes. She thought about her family back home. Her old mother, her young daughter. She might never see them again. "There is another way," said Sujin quietly. She was the oldest crew member, a senior researcher who had traveled the galaxy for over 60 years. Everyone looked at her. Sujin walked slowly to a small panel on the wall. She entered a code that Yuna had never seen before. The panel opened, revealing a single red button behind thick glass. "What is that?" Yuna asked. "The emergency beacon," Sujin replied. Her voice was heavy. "Every outpost has one. Every ship has one. But we are forbidden to use it." Jihoon stood up quickly. "That beacon. It calls them, doesn't it?" Sujin nodded. The room became very quiet. Everyone knew who them meant. Every child in the galaxy grew up hearing stories about them. The beasts. The monsters. The species that had painted the stars red with the blood of their enemies. Humans. "We cannot do that," Dohyun said. His face was white with fear. "The humans are. They are. Dangerous," Jihoon finished. "More dangerous than the Drokar. More dangerous than anyone." Yuna had heard the stories too. Long ago, when the Valari first made contact with other species, they learned about the humans. A young species from a small blue planet. They seemed weak at first. They had no natural weapons, no claws, no fangs. Their bodies were soft. They lived short lives, but then the galaxy watched them fight. the humans did not stop. They did not surrender. They did not know fear the way other species did. When they were hurt, they became angry. When they were pushed, they pushed back harder. They fought wars that lasted generations. They built weapons that could destroy planets. They smiled while they killed. The other species made a rule. Humans were to be left alone. No one would attack their worlds. No one would threaten their people. And in return, the humans stayed on their side of the galaxy, mostly quiet, mostly peaceful. But there was the beacon, a promise made long ago. If any species faced complete destruction, if there was no other hope, they could call the humans. And the humans would come, but the price was high. The humans would not just save you. They would destroy your enemy completely. Every ship, every soldier, every memory of them. The humans did not understand small victories. They only knew total war. The Drokar will kill us all, Yuna said slowly. They will take the ancient technology and use it to conquer more worlds. Millions will die, but the humans, Minji whispered. The humans will stop them, Yuna said. She walked toward the panel. Her heart was beating fast. The Drokar wanted war. Let them have it. Let them see what real war looks like. She broke the glass with her fist. Blue blood dripped from her hand. She did not feel the pain. Commander, please think about this, Ji-hoon begged. Once you press that button, there is no going back. The humans will come, and they will bring death with them. Yuna looked at her crew. 12 people. 12 lives that depended on her. She thought about the ruins below, filled with knowledge that could help the galaxy. She thought about the Drokar, who only wanted power and destruction. She thought about her daughter, waiting for her mother to come home. I have thought about it, Yuna said. She pressed the button. A deep sound filled the station. It was not loud, but somehow it felt like it shook the entire universe. The beacon sent its signal out into the void, traveling faster than light, crossing distances that would take normal ships years to cover. Somewhere, far away, in a part of the galaxy that most species avoided, the signal arrived, and somewhere in the darkness of space, something woke up. Yuna stood at the window again. The Drokar ships were still there, waiting for their answer. They did not know what she had done. They did not know what was coming. Now we wait, she said softly. Sujin came to stand beside her. The old researcher looked tired and scared, but also something else. Something like hope. Do you think they will really come? Sujin asked. Yuna watched the enemy fleet. In less than an hour, they would attack. They would destroy the outpost. They would kill everyone. But maybe, just maybe, help would arrive first. They will come, Yuna said. The humans always keep their promises. Above them, hidden by the shadow of the Drokar fleet, a small light began to move across the stars. It was far away, but it was getting closer. The beasts were coming.